would like to talk a little bit about the academic world and how you're preparing the next generation of professionals.
How can we talk more about the messaging around clinical data management, how jobs that don't even exist yet, right? I think that's where the bright spot is for the future. How can we further this collaboration?
Guiding growth through education. Lessons learned in clinical data management. Hello and welcome to the SCDM podcast. I'm Carol Schaffer and I'm happy to be here today with Emily Hurst. Emily, would you like to introduce yourself and tell our listeners about what you do?
Great. Thank you so much, Carol. I'm so glad to be here with SCDM. My name is Emily Hurst, and I'm the Associate Vice Provost and Dean for the Health Sciences and Human Services Library at the University of Maryland, Baltimore.
Yeah, and thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate your time and taking the time to speak with us. Today we would like to talk a little bit about the academic world and how you're preparing the next generation of professionals. We're here, as you said, for our conference, so we have a gathering of almost 1,000 of our data science, data management professionals here to talk about the current state of the industry, clinical data science, and what the future is holding. You're a block and a half away preparing the next generation of professionals and getting them ready for what's next. So today I'd like to just have that conversation about what is it that we're doing? How are we preparing our professionals? So can you share your insight on the academic vision of how professionals are coming out in this emerging technology environment and ecosystem, and how are you getting them ready for the future?
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. And I think you make a really great point about the relationship between our higher education mission and vision, as well as the role of professional organizations. And so I've been in health science libraries for over 20 years, and I have seen the evolution evolve of data and how we kept hearing about big data and how it was going to be important to healthcare. I've really focused on healthcare and the role that the library can play. And so we kept hearing about big data and all this was going to change, and now we're there. We're at that inflection point. And throughout that time, higher education has been constantly thinking about our curriculum. We've been thinking about how do we prepare students so that when they leave our academic institutions, they are ready and prepared for the workforce, that they can go to work in organizations that are probably represented here at your conference. And so to do that, in the library, we have this great opportunity. We work really closely with faculty, staff, and clinicians, as well as the students. So we're learning from all different angles about how students are using data, how they're using critical thinking, how they're using the resources that are available to them to make the best decisions when it comes to using that data. And that's what our role in academic libraries and academia continues to be, is to create our curriculums, to look at the emerging trends that are going on and make sure that we're putting those into the curriculum appropriately, that we're using good pedagogy to make sure that the students are coming out well prepared, well informed, and they also have all the skills that industry is looking for.
And that's really great. I had some wonderful conversations with the students the other day, and what amazes me every time we speak to the students is the level of knowledge that they have. The work that you're doing, the work that they're doing as students, is really on the cutting edge of research of the work that we're doing in the sort of real world, right? We talk about real world, and then it's just closing that gap of coming out of academia and understanding almost the theoretical and making it the practical application. And I think it's such a wonderful opportunity for both of us, because I say that I feel like sometimes they come out with far more technical knowledge than I have, but I have the industry knowledge. We all have the industry knowledge. So closing that gap, getting them up to speed on the industry is just such a wonderful thing to be able to do, and I'm always very excited about wanting to do it. What do you think is the most meaningful way that universities and professional associations can co-create learning? Because we talk about wanting to partner. So how do you feel we could co-create some of the learning to bring these students to that point of being able to step in and actively contribute quickly?
Yeah, I think you just touched on it a moment ago when you mentioned the industry background that your professionals have and that information that the students have coming out. I think you did a great job with SCDM having having that opportunity at our library, which was recently hosted. We had a large group of postdoctoral students and students that are already doing clinical data management as a career choice, but they may not know that much about the industry yet. And I think that's one of the key things that we have to continue to do as higher education and professional industry is partner.
Right.
Not only at these opportunities for networking, which is so key for that job time period
Right.
when people are applying for jobs and trying to make connections, but also as they begin to investigate that career and all the choices that exist to them. And I think that's something that was important to me in my path in medical librarianship. There's all different types of librarianship,
Right.
but I was able to, through networking and exploration and even internships, I was able to go out into the industry and see the type of libraries that existed and understand where my skill set really meshed well.
Right.
And I think that's true of our clinical data managers for the future. They need that opportunity to not only network, but potentially intern, really get the opportunity to see what's happening and where their skill sets may align with what the industry is looking for.
Right.
I think we also have some continued opportunities to look at even the upskilling or the professional development opportunities, because as you mentioned, and even happens to me, once we're in our industry, we're very well versed in what's happening today and what
Right.
our trends are. But sometimes I want to go back, and I mean, AI is a great example with artificial intelligence. I have taken some AI training. I'm using AI now. That was not something of my master's degree program, for sure. And so those opportunities I get from my professional organizations, but I also look to external groups like your own to see where there might be opportunities for me as a professional to learn more and to engage more and grow my skills. And
Right.
I think that's another aspect of higher education that we always push people toward is that continual lifelong learning, that you're going to learn a lot of skills in higher education at the time that you graduate, but you have to continue to advance your knowledge and to continue to grow in order to stay relevant in your skill set and in your field.
And that's incredible. I mean, we just launched this AI first. We call it an AI first platform. But the heart of the platform, the content in that platform is created by our membership. And so it enables our membership to share their knowledge. And one of the things that I would love to see us do is partner in having contributions from your organization, from the universities to bring in that knowledge, that cutting edge, that latest technology and advancements so that the membership can take advantage of even what the students are learning to some extent.
Yeah, and one other thing I wanted to add is it's always a two-way street. So if there are things that are evolving, then it's also important for higher education to know so that we can also put those things into our curriculum.
Right.
And make sure that we're preparing the workforce of tomorrow with the skills that are needed out there.
Yeah, I think I always enjoy when the interns come in the summertime and sometimes they'll look at some of the things that we do and they say, this is really fabulous and I'm so excited, and they're always very excited about learning, but then they say, I took a class and I can improve this.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay. So that's great. Just, talking about the students, when you talk to them, because I know the conversations I had with them the other day, and a lot of it was driven in the direction of what can I do? What courses can I take? What can I learn? Essentially leading to how do I get a job, right? So from your conversations with the students, what is it that they're looking for? I mean, what are the things that what are their hopes, their concerns about coming into the industry, and what is it that they're looking for to get their foot in and to start their career?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question, especially in light of where we are today. There's so much change happening on the end of AI to current things that are going on internationally as well as nationally here in the U.S. with regulations. And so one of the things I would have to say the students are most concerned about, of course, is that preparation for the future. And when they're looking for their programs, I can assure you that they are doing informational interviews before they even decide which program to go to, because they want to know, what is your curriculum? Does it have this in it? This is the industry I want to go into. Is your curriculum up to speed? Right. So that's an important thing to know, that students are shopping all of the different higher education opportunities that are out there for them. And then in higher education, in academia, we are so keyed in on making sure that the students feel successful and are successful after graduation. So that is a key thing that we talk about around the Deans and Vice Presidents table. We are constantly looking at our graduation rate and our attainment toward career placement.
Okay.
And so we work really closely as educators. We also work with our student affairs groups and our groups that are doing placements to make sure that students feel like they have the skills and are ready to go into that job market, which is getting sometimes very tight.
Right.
And then the last thing I just want to mention, I kind of alluded to, is just the current market that we're looking at. When we talk about data management, we talk about the clinical care aspect. There's so much happening in the area of regulation uncertainty that is something that kind of shakes some of the foundations that some of our individuals have thinking about this.
Right.
You know, is this going to be a viable option in the future? How rapidly are things changing? And what can we do in higher education to ensure that we're preparing those students for a future that these skills are going to be very relevant, but it may change a little bit as far as, you know, what's happening in the national or international fields.
Right, right.
So.
I really enjoyed the professor who gave the presentation about opportunity, and her one slide sticks in my head where she had all of the different opportunities, and she had the sort of data sciences in the middle, and, you know, whether it be the the federal level or the private sector or academia, or and she had all of the choices, and I remember her statement saying, you know, you need to marry one, but we kind of all looked at each other and said, but you can go, you know, like you can move around, but that's the wonderful thing about, I think, our field, is that you can go from being in the regulatory to going into the private sector to working in academia, and just sharing that knowledge across the board. So I understand the concerns. I think we all have concerns, you know, coming out of school, going, you know, am I going to get a job? Is there work out there? I can assure you that and you can assure them that there is plenty of work
Yes.
that will be coming, and I think that the chance of not finding an opportunity is slim. There's a lot out there, and I think when I spoke with them, one of the things that I tried to the message I tried to send to them was really around that there are jobs that don't even exist yet.
That's true.
That
yeah.
in 5 years there are going to be jobs that are going to be created because of where technology is bringing us, or where the industry or where academia is bringing us and the research is bringing us. And so just to be prepared with those solid foundational skills, other skills you can learn, but those solid soft skills and those, you know, just solid knowledge, I believe would be very important for them, for the students to just understand that they will evolve as the industry evolves. Yeah. We all did. What I find wonderful too is that there are students who are now doing the clinical work, who are going intentionally into data science and clinical data science. I think a lot of us who have been in the industry for 20 or 30 years fell into data management. We found our way to data management. It wasn't something that we intentionally seek as an education. So I love the fact that the passion is there already to go into it. So really, really exciting. How do you think that we can foster this ongoing conversation? I love this conversation. You know, we started it a few days ago. We're continuing it now. But how do you think we can continue to foster this conversation and this partnership between academia and the society in order to really advance the profession?
Yeah, and I love that your organization is already thinking about this. I have other organizations that we work with that we're at the academic side reaching out and saying, can you come and just can you do a panel? Can you do something to get these students like motivated or excited about the future? I think that obviously as you're graduating, coming toward graduation, so there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of fear, a lot of angst. Yeah. And just having that opportunity to build those relationships and build that network and being willing to come out even to our library like you did was something that the students just I've heard such good feedback already. They're saying that was a really good experience, and they hope that we can do more with not just your organization, but others as well, because you're thinking about it. You're truly putting your boots on the ground, and you're putting the effort out there. And I think that's going to help the profession as well as the student. And I think that's something that we have to continue to engage in. Additionally, we can talk about opportunities for your experts and your professionals to come into the classroom. I think that's another example. Like, we have so many opportunities for these students to engage one-on-one with leaders in this field, to hear about their personal experience with clinical data management. We also have the opportunity for those individuals to kind of have that conversation develop with students and hear more about what they're thinking about the future. So hopefully it blends into an opportunity for your professionals to also see what these students are learning and able to engage with. And you already mentioned the internships, which of course we are very encouraging of in higher education. Go out there, see if it is for you, see if this is what you want to be doing, and learn a little bit more about all those from that menu of options. Try the different things out and see where your skill set aligns. And so I think we're going to continue to look for opportunities to have that occur. The other thing I can say is that when we talk about building up the skills within higher education, we talk a lot about the role of data, not only for storytelling, for the importance and the value of the data that's there, but also in the ability to craft a message for the future. So I think that's an important aspect of, like, how can we talk more about the messaging around clinical data management? How can we talk about ethics? How can we talk about just bringing that data into a meaningful place that ensures safety for our patients, that ensures that we're going to have high quality results in the end? And so I think that as we look toward these jobs that don't even exist yet, I think that's where the bright spot is for the future. How can we further this collaboration? How can we do more entrepreneurship and engagement with industry in higher education? I'm on a panel that works with our biopark here at the University of Maryland, Baltimore, and we talk a lot about lab management and the data groups and access to resources, and how we can not only serve as a resource for the student internship opportunity, but how we can engage as a resource for the experience working with real life data scenarios.
Those are all wonderful ideas, and I'm so excited to be a part of it and to help wherever. I love the idea of coming into the classroom and speaking to any number of students. I'm all for it. I'm up for it. I know my colleagues are too. We love sharing what we do. I think we're all passionate about what we do, and you're right in the sense that data is everywhere, and one of the messages that we are trying to convey in this conference is that we are the owners of the data, certainly from a clinical perspective in the clinical trials, but it's not just the actual clinical data from the patients, but it's all of the other data that's being generated. And so how do we best leverage the power of that data, because it is very powerful and it does give a message. And I love the idea of the storytelling, because it does tell a story, and the story that needs to get out there to more than just those in our industry and in higher education, but out to the general public, that this data is very powerful. So I look forward to collaborating with you and the Institute and the students, and more conversations with you. I'd like to thank you for your time and for your wonderful insight, and look forward to our partnership. Thank you all very much, and we hope you listen to our next installment of SCDM podcast. Thank you.